This is going to be a form of shotgun review, and I really hope it blows you out of the water. Because fans blow. And so do shotguns. Also, we have a water cooler. On the bench today, we have ID-Cooling's Auroflow 240 RGB AIO cooler. To change things up a bit, we'll be taking the Asiahorse Rainbow, Reeven Kiran, a few fans from Anidees, and the Azza Hurricane RGB fans for a spin. Starting with the cooler, we've got a 240mm aluminum radiator with nicely sleeved tubing down to a copper cold plate with an RGB block compatible with the majority of relatively recent sockets, including Intel's LGA 775, 1366, 115X, 2011, and 2011 V3, and AMD's FM1 and 2, and AM2, 3, and 4. Out of the block, you'll find two cables, one 3-pin for the pump, and a 4-pin for your RGB control. This can either be plugged into your motherboard to be enslaved by software like Asus Aura Sync, MSI Mystic Lite, or Gigabyte RGB Fusion, but it won't work with more advanced applications like NZXT Cam or Corsair Link to the best of my knowledge. Also included, you've got a cat and nine tails adapter to link the included trio RGB fans, and this Molex monstrosity just in case your board lacks RGB support. With this adapter, you have access to color cycling, blinking, breathing, a demo mode that cycles through variations of each, and solid color effects with speed control for blinking and breathing and brightness control for the solid colors of red, blue, green, purple, cyan, yellow, white, several more shades of pink, several more shades of blue, several more shades of green, several more shades of white, and then a couple more shades of blue. The lighting on the pump looks pretty good, hot spotting is hardly present, and I think the logo is cool. It's reasonably bright, and being able to sync it with other parts of your system is a huge plus for many of you. Installation was pretty simple, the pump isn't audible to me from a normal sitting distance, no need to worry about tube clearance with your RAM, and the inclusion of the two trio RGB fans is a nice touch. What are you waiting for? The rest of this video probably. The trio fans can be purchased separately, costing around $44 for a triple pack if you don't want the cooler with them. The fans themselves sport a black frame with rubber dampeners, two cables, one for PWM control and one for the RGB, being compatible with the same platforms as their Auroflow 240 cooler. Unfortunately, the fan's overall construction feels pretty cheap, and you have some extra branding on one side of the frame. The latter isn't a huge deal, but if you have a few of these and don't have them oriented the same way for whatever reason, you'll run into some aesthetic inconsistencies. On the bright side, the kit includes similar components like the RGB splitter whip and fan mounting screws, but you also get a PWM splitter and SATA powered RF receiver and remote. With the remote, you have the static colors of white, red, green, blue, yellow, a sort of blue-green, and pink. You've also got several modes allowing for color cycle, blinking in a number of available colors, color shift, a pulsing effect either cycling through colors or a color of your choice, and a demo mode that cycles through all of them with speed, color, and brightness control. The lighting in the fan is pretty bright, but as expected of this type of design, you do get some pretty hardcore hot spotting in the rotor, and while the diffusing ring catches light pretty well, it won't compare to some of the more expensive models you can find on the market. You've got a thin ring for the intake, which is pretty visible from the sides, but not from the exhaust. Moving on over, the Asiahorse Rainbow fans are by far the most limited and most inexpensive units on our roster, coming in at $17 for a pair. The frame construction is reasonably durable, though the glossy fan blades do feel a bit flimsier. You've got rubber dampeners at the corners, a white diffusing ring around the perimeter, and a 4-pin PWM cable to wrap it all up. As for lighting effects, we have rainbow, as the name might imply, and that's about it. There are no animations, the colors stay right where they are, you see some fairly strong hot spotting, and when the fan RPM is lowered, you get some dimming and some of the LEDs just stay off. I guess if you like a visual indicator for your fan RPM, this will be coming at you like a dark horse. Or something. I will, however, commend Asiahorse for liking it enough to put a ring on it twice. Alternatively, they have an adjustable model available at about $37 for a triple pack. Next up, coming in at $17 each, we have Reeven Kiran RGB fans. Build quality here for the price is much less impressive, with the frame flexing under light pressure, though the blades do feel just a bit more rigid. The translucent blades and diffusing ring are wrapped in a black frame with more rubber dampeners, a braided PWM cable, and this adorable little button on this hysterically short leash for lighting control. The button is appealing and tactile, and cycles between cycle 1, red, blue, green, pink, yellow, turquoise, white, cycle 2, and off. The lighting here is another okay, being reasonably bright, though dimming does occur at lower RPM, and in any case, you get a healthy helping of hot spotting. The big benefit, or hindrance here, is within their control. They are designed to be standalone fans, so if you're lacking a motherboard with RGB support and you don't want to clutter your system with RGB software or proprietary hardware, these will work. But the single button on the short cable means accessing them will likely force you to open your case each and every time, and since they can't be connected or daisy-chained together, having more than one or two can be a turbulent experience. Then we have the heavy hitter of the bunch. The Azza Hurricane RGB fans storm in at $70 for a set of 3, and for good reason. Out of the rest, these feel most premium in construction and subjectively appearance. You've got an acrylic ring with black corners and rubber dampeners housing the black fan blades with a pretty nice design. On their ends, you'll find RGB cables for daisy chaining and connecting to your motherboard's RGB header, and a 4-pin PWM cable. If your motherboard doesn't have an RGB header, don't get gloomy, Azza includes the Lumi. Basically a little box that allows you to control your fans through an app. It's powered via the ugliest Molex cable I've ever seen, has one connector to let you control all the fans' RPM through a single motherboard header, and a micro USB cable that does something. I'm not sure what, I just left it unplugged. Inside the Lumi app, the first thing you'll see is speed. From here, you can adjust the speed. Or you can hit the PC sync button and let your motherboard steal the show. The custom tab allows you to individually set colors to each individual fan, or sync them all to one color. The Rainbow tab gives them a rainbow wave effect, allowing you to control speed through the delay slider, and the Breathe tab allows you to set the fans to one color and again adjust speed. Rainbow and Breathe automatically synchronize all fans, so you can't mix and match, and the app in general I find to be a little more limited since you can't input RGB values for fine tuning. Your only option really is to play with the color wheel, and that kind of turns me off. Moving on again, we've got the Anidees AI Prismatic fans at just about $40 for a triple pack. Construction here is also fairly good, with little flex under reasonable pressure. We've got fan blades in white, wrapped in a black frame, sporting rubber dampeners, and a strange sort of paperclip pattern. Attached to that, we see a braided cable terminating in a proprietary 6-pin header, but only 4 of the 6 pins are used. This plugs into an included SATA powered controller supporting up to 6 fans that sports these little wing things. They don't fit into any standard mounting that I can immediately recognize, but it can also be mounted magnetically, so that's pretty attractive. That controller can then be plugged into an extension that slots into one of your expansion slots so they can be adjusted from outside of the case. The 3 buttons are for toggling between 2 lighting speeds, cycling between 10 static colors of red, green, blue, yellow, white, purple, pink, cyan, orange, and rainbow, with off being an option if you long press it for 4 seconds. And finally, changing the LED mode, which switches between the lighting effects of blade, static, breathing, cycling, rotating 1, chasing, rotating 2, and rainbow. The lighting here is pretty good so far. Hotspotting is present, but comparatively speaking, minimal, and the range of effects is pretty neat, though they aren't particularly smooth unless you're on the cycling setting. The only problem would be lack of compatibility and RPM control, since you have 1 speed and 1 speed only. And then we've got more of Anidees. The AI Aureola? Build quality here is pretty reasonable, being among the sturdier of the bunch. You'll find rubber dampeners on the intake side of the fan, but an empty void where they should be on the exhaust. Out of the fan, you get a 5-pin proprietary cable that connects to the included control box, which mounts to your case magnetically. It's powered via SATA and supports up to 8 fans and 2 LED strips. The effects are changed with the included RF remote, giving you this kind of stack effect where LEDs are lit up sequentially over time, allowing for speed and color control, a similar effect with the LEDs approaching from both sides, a pinwheel effect, a marquee-looking effect, another marquee-looking effect, breathing, a flowy-looking kind of thing, an effect I'm going to call Pac-Man, then rainbow, all of which feature speed and brightness control along with various color combinations. Alternatively, you can set the static colors of red, green, blue, and white, and control the brightness of each. Then there's this cogwheel, and I have no idea what that does. The lighting itself here is okay, but leaves a bit to be desired. You got a bit of hot spotting and a lack of fluidity in some of the slower animations. Then, like some other fans we've looked at already, the diffusing ring doesn't extend through to the rear. The controller is a pain in the exhaust because you have to cycle through each and every effect and color option, but the Aureola's Aureola are vibrant enough so that I can't complain much more than that. There, it's out of my system. Now to put these in a system. So for testing, these will be used as an intake for an air-cooled computer, and then we'll slap each and every one of them on the Auraflow 240 cooler I mentioned earlier. As an important note, I tried to lock down as many variables as I could, but my testing environment is not perfectly controlled, so do take these thermal results with a bit of skepticism. Having each and every fan at full speed, we see that Azza, being the most expensive option, is also the best performer. That being said, the highest temperatures were from the Anidees AI Prismatic fans, though they were also the quietest. Equalizing all fans to output about 45 dBA in a room where the floor is around 41, we see that Azza is in the lead again, with the Reeven Kiran and Asiahorse fans performing just about evenly at the end. Note that the Anidees fans are excluded as they've only got one speed setting. And if silence is your top priority, dropping these fans to their lowest RPM again puts Azza in the lead, but not by very much. As for our radical results, the same battery of tests gives somewhat similar yields. Cranking all fans to the max brings the Azza fans in first by a smidge, with the Anidees AI Aureola coming in last and loudest. Bringing them to output 45 dBA, again we see Azza be the coolest kid on the water block, but not by a particularly large lead. Turning things down as low as they get, Azza comes in at the hottest and quietest, while ID-Cooling Trio fans come in coolest and loudest. So which set should you get? It depends. They each do their own thing and they've all got their drawbacks. Some fans blow more than others, and some fans blow more than others? But if you're still not sure what you want, I've done a bunch of other videos on a bunch of other fans that you can find up here. Links to buy will be in the description, and feel free to let me know your thoughts. That's all I've got to say about that. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe, share, leave me questions if you got them. Thanks for watching. My name is Steven, and I am ALittleDIMM. Bye-bye. We've got a 240mm aluminum radiator with nicely sleeved, but it won't work with more advanced applications like NZXT Cam or Corsair Link, yeah. And this Molex monstrosity, just in case your board lacks mother... What? No. It's reasonably bright, costing around $44 US for a triple pack if you don't want the cooler, yeah. You'll run into some aesthetic. The kit includes similar components like the fan, damn it, a sort of blue-green, which is cyan. I don't know why I didn't write in cyan when I wrote the script, whatever. It won't compare to some of the more expensive models you can find on the market. You get some dimming and some of the LEDs. I will, however, commend Asiahorse for liking it enough to put a ring on it twice. Alternatively, they have an adjustable model. You know, I actually wrote the script like a month and a half ago. These prices may be way off now. It's powered via the ugliest Molex. Yeah. Build quality. The same battery of tests gives somewhat similar yields. The same battery of tests gives somewhat similar